The Lion, the Asses, and the Hares. Upon the breaking out of a war between the birds and the beasts, the lion summoned all his subjects to appear in arms at a certain time and place, upon pain of his high displeasure. A number of hares and asses made their appearance on the field. Several of the commanders were for turning them off as creatures utterly unfit for service. "Do not be too hasty," said the lion. "The asses will do very well for trumpeters, and the hares will make excellent messengers." Lesson: everything has its use. The Fox and the Mask. A fox was one day rummaging in the house of an actor and came across a very beautiful mask. Putting his paw on the forehead, he said, "What a handsome face we have here. It is a pity that it should want brains." Lesson: beauty without brains nothing gains. The Fowler and the Blackbird. A fowler, setting his nets in order, was curiously watched by a blackbird, who could not forbear coming and asking the man civilly what he was about. "I am making a nice little house for such as you," answered the fowler, "and putting into it food and all manner of useful things." He then departed and hid himself. The blackbird, believing his words, came into the nets and was taken. "If your house is built for treachery," said he to the man, "I hope it will have few inhabitants." Lesson: dishonest rulers overthrow the state. The Cats and the Mice. In former times, a fierce and lasting war raged between the cats and mice, in which, time after time, the latter had to fly. One day, when the mice in council were discussing the cause of their ill luck, the general opinion seemed to be that it was the difficulty of knowing, in the heat of the conflict, who were their leaders that led to their defeat and utter rout. So it was decided that, in the future, each captain should have his head decorated with some thin straws, so that all the mice would then know to whom they were to look for orders. After the mice had drilled and disciplined their numbers, they once more gave battle to the cats, but again they met with no better success, being utterly routed. The greater part reached their holes in safety, but the captains were prevented by their strange headgear from entering their retreats, and fell prey to their cruel pursuers. Lesson: those who have the greatest honor have the greatest danger. The Angler and the Little Fish. A fisherman who had caught a very small fish was about to throw him into his basket. The little fellow, gasping, pleaded thus for his life: "What, you are never going to keep such a minnow as I, not 1/4 grown? 50 like me wouldn't make a decent dish. Do throw me back, and come back and catch me again when I am bigger." "It's all very well to say, 'Catch me again, my little fellow,'" replied the man, "but you know you'll make yourself very scarce for the future. You're big enough now to make one in a frying pan, so in you go." Lesson: no time like the present. The Horse and the Hog. A hog that was lazily lying in the sun saw a war horse advancing, on his way to the battlefield. The war horse was gaily caparisoned, and proudly spurned the ground as if impatient to charge the enemy. The hog half lifted his head and, grunting, said to him, "What a fool you are to be so ready to rush to your death." "Your speech," replied the horse, "fits well a vile animal that only lives to get fat and be killed by the knife. If I die on the field, I die where duty calls me, and I shall leave the memory of a good name behind." Lesson: 'tis not death, but the manner of it, which is important. The Gardener and His Landlord. A simple sort of gardener who rented a cottage and small garden on the outskirts of a park belonging to a great squire was much annoyed at the havoc that a certain hare made with his choice and delicate young vegetables. So off went the man one morning to complain to the squire. "This hare," said he, "laughs at all snares. He has a charm that keeps off all the sticks and stones that I throw at him. In plain truth, I believe he is no hare at all, but a wizard in disguise." "Nay, were he the father of all wizards," replied the squire, who was a great hunter, "my dogs will make short work with him. We'll come tomorrow and see about it." The next morning came the squire with his pack of hounds, and a score of friends, huntsmen and others. The gardener was at breakfast, and felt bound to ask them to partake. They did so, and made great inroads upon his store of provisions. "Now then, let us beat for the hare," cried the squire, and the huntsmen blew their horns with deafening noise, and the dogs flew here and there in search of the hare, who was soon started from under a big cabbage where he had gone for shelter. Across the garden ran the hare, and after him went the dogs. Alas for the beds, the frames, the flowers! Through the hedge went the hare, and over the beds, and through the hedge after him went the squire, the friends, the huntsmen, horses, and all. A wreck indeed did the place look when they were gone. "Ha!" cried the gardener, "fool that I was to go to the great for help. Here is more damage done in half an hour than all the hares in the province would have made in a year." Lesson: do not ask others to do what you can do yourself. The Boy and the Nettle. A boy was stung by a nettle. He ran home and told his mother, saying, "Although it pains me so much, I did but touch it ever so gently." "That was just what caused it to sting you," replied his mother. "The next time you touch a nettle, grasp it boldly, and it will be soft as silk to your hand and not hurt you in the least." Lesson: whatsoever you do, do it with all your might. The Lion and the Four Bulls. 4 bulls were such great friends that they always kept together when feeding. A lion watched them for many days with longing eyes, but never being able to find one apart from the rest, was afraid to attack them. He at length succeeded in awakening a jealousy amongst them, which finally became hatred, and they strayed off at some distance from each other. The lion then fell upon them singly and killed them all. Lesson: there is strength in unity. The Horse and the Groom. A dishonest groom regularly used to sell a good half of the measure of oats that was daily allowed for a horse, the care of which was entrusted to him. He would, however, keep currying the animal for hours together to make him appear in good condition. The horse naturally resented this treatment. "If you really wish me to look sleek," said he, "in the future give me half the currying and twice as much food." Lesson: there is no parleying with the dishonest.